Have you been experiencing internal financial struggles triggered by economic concerns? Are you feeling capped at your current income level and can't seem to realize your financial potential? Energy healer Gene Border has created an emotional freedom technique, or EFT, tapping protocol to help calm the inner voice that keeps you stressed. Claim your free copy at geneborder.com/vow and say goodbye to those financial blockages. Welcome to another episode of the Focused Practical Dreamer's Journey podcast, Energy Work to Better Your Business, hosted by energy healer Gene Border. It's not just about dreaming, it's about making those dreams a practical reality. Subscribe to us via your favorite network by visiting our website at www.focusedpracticaldreamer.com. Now, get ready. Your journey to success starts here.
Hello, everyone. It's your host, Gene Border, with another episode of the Focused Practical Dreamer's Journey podcast, where we talk everything business with a little bit of a spin on energy work, mindset, and the psychology behind why we do what we do and how we can shift that, and how it impacts not only your personal life, but also your business decisions. So thanks for joining me here. Before we get started, I want to remind everyone that down in the show notes, you can click on the link for a free PDF. For those of you who are into tapping, EFT tapping, there's a protocol for you there. If you have any tension in your body about financial issues, financial stress, financial questions that you might be pondering, or your financial situation, just do a few rounds of EFT tapping to calm down your central nervous system so that you can make these decisions from a place of calm rather than a place of fear or tension or reaction, because we want to make the best decisions possible when it comes to our money and our future, right? So if you're not looking and you're just listening, it's geneborder.com/vow, VOW. And let me know how it goes for you. And now on with our show. We have a special guest here today who's big in the marketing world, actually. Neil Rogers. Hi, Neil. How are you?
Gene, how you doing? Nice to see you.
I'm doing well. Happy to have you here today. So Neil's got an interesting background, but I'll let him tell you a little bit about him before we get going.
Well, depending on how far back you want to go, let's go back to my original foray into the business world, I think, is as a bartender. And so, and then I realized that wasn't going to be my life's work, and I needed to get a degree. So I wound up getting my college degree while tending bar. And then I moved on into sales because that's what people said would suit my personality. So for the last 40 or so years, I've been in and out of every kitchen in Boston, in and out of every sporting goods store, shoe store, bookstore in New England. And for the last 27 years, we've been working in the B2B corporate America in the swag business. So the promotional items. So that's where we have a program called Positive Activity, which will resonate with your listeners, because it is about getting your mindset in a place of positivity, which takes you to open-minded solution providing, creativity, and then that leads to tremendous productivity. And that is the sum total of our experiences, both Lori and mine, over the past, well, we've been married, I've been together 40 years and been married 37. And so we, it's all the things that we've learned along the way, and we put it encapsulated into a little program that we teach. So it's quite interesting. It's a lot of fun. And at this stage of my career, it's quite a shot in the arm. And oh, by the way, I'm an author.
Cool. So talk to me. That was a very quick synopsis. Talk to me about how you actually grew your business from where you started to where you are now, because you mentioned a lot of things there.
Well, it does start from the school thing. So I wasn't very successful coming out of high school. In school, I flunked out of 2 community colleges. Yes, listeners, you are listening to somebody who flunked out of 2 community colleges.
And is proud of it.
And still did it. Oh, it's a badge of honor. I wear it proudly. And it really wasn't because I just had no interest. I went, and it's like, this is like high school all over again. Why am I doing this? And then I just petered out. And then I like to have a good, and then it was also, let's just throw in maybe a little bit of it too good of a time now and again too. So anyways, then, but when I went back, when I really learned that maybe sales was going to be my route, because that's what all my customers, my bar customers were encouraging me to do. Well, I said, well, I still, to myself, I said, well, I still got to get this degree. So what I essentially did, very simply, put together a little, well, in today's parlance, an algorithm, right, of success about going to school and getting good at it. And I learned, and I learned a certain way. There may be some little ADD mixed in back in the day and all that, focus issues, that type of thing. And so I said, okay, here's what I'm going to commit to. I'm going to show up. I'm going to listen. I'm going to take notes. I'm going to ask questions. I'm going to answer questions. I'm going to the office hours. I'm going to get them to know me. I'm going to do the extra work. If they want to volunteer for something, I'm going to do that. Now, this sounds a little like sales, doesn't it? So that's essentially how we've been doing it for all these years. Show up, be organized, be on time, know your products, know how else you might be able to help the client, have a good attitude, your aptitude, you upgrading your skills. What is your appearance? Are you looking good? Are you looking at least on par with where your industry is at? Which I got to throw that caveat in these days, because nobody's walking around in a suit anymore. And something just popped up on my screen, Gene. So I'm going to have to just do that real quick. I'm going to plop right back to you. And so in each business that I was in, the food business, I just showed up. I was well presented. I wasn't intrusive. Because of my experience with people, I could read a situation. Am I intruding? Is this right for me to be here? Is it not? And I just showed up more, but I was always kind and humble. So I didn't expect to get the business. Why aren't you giving me this business? Well, whatever. I just kind of waited them out and used my personality and that. And so I did that, and that was very successful. I went from, I think I took over the territory with, I think it was $300,000, and in 18 months I was doing 1.5 million.
Wow.
And so, and all of those simple, just showing up, paying attention, doing the things that I'm supposed to be doing, bringing in samples, anything, any marketing materials I could use that certainly they would appreciate. And then I did the same thing and there I was at, let's see, we were married in 1987. I was 29 years old. Yes, 29 years old. And was making pretty good money for 1987. My wife was working at Fidelity, making the same kind of money. So we were all like, here we are. We've arrived. And when a friend of mine said to me, he was in the sporting goods business, sold athletic apparel and footwear, and said, why don't you come work for us? Okay. And I knew they were doing well, and it was fun business. But I went from what I was making with a car and benefits and all that to nothing. It was a straight commission job. But I once again took my little algorithm and I organized myself. In the last 2 weeks after I gave my notice in the food business, once 2:00 arrived in the food business, that your day was done. Anything after that, you would be prospecting, busy work, that type of stuff. So I stopped doing that for obvious reasons. I wasn't growing the business anymore. And I started organizing myself for the sporting goods business. So and day one, I was ready. I had maps of New England, and I, with a pencil, plotted all the clients on there. And so when day one started, I just started dialing phone. Hey, I'm coming up. I'm the new guy. I want to show you the new line. They didn't want to see me. They wanted to see me, whatever it was. But I always stopped by and I'd drop off a catalog, maybe a sample, that type of thing. And that I'm guessing at these numbers, but it was pretty significant. I think the territory was the guy before me said, "Oh, the stuff doesn't sell." Well, he'd done 250,000 in sales, which equates in commissions probably to $10,000. 15, because I was working for an agency and there was an agency split there. Best experience I ever had. And I think somewhere based on the commission, in about 4 years, I was doing $10 million. Now, some of it was dumb luck, but it was dumb luck because guess what? I was doing my process and I was showing up and I was just paying attention. And if I saw a bigger opportunity, I went for it. Maybe you had to chip away at, maybe I can recall a mini process within the process, because someone that you're calling on that has one store is different how you call on somebody that's got 150 stores. So it's a little bit more frustration. It's a little bit more, at the time, we're competing against Nike and Reebok, and we had an off-brand, which I wish I'd had today, because off-brand sell quite well. And then, so when we started the promotional business, I'm going to bore you to tears, but same gig, right? We just do what we say we're going to do. We're well presented. We communicate well. We, when a prospect comes our way, I mean, an interesting story I'll tell you listeners real quick. One of the things, I was at a sales meeting somewhere in, late September. And, all the vendors were there and all of our vendors and all of us agents were there. Distributors is what we're called in business. And, so the last thing we did was an event that was because it was in Milwaukee. We went to the Harley-Davidson Museum, and they had a place where you could have, a meal and beer and wine, whatever. And so and the theme was you had to wear something biker-like. I have nothing biker-like. I've got to live. I'm not going to drag that out to Milwaukee. I'm cool. I'm fine. So as I'm leaving the trade show, I see this rep there, and he's got this cool-looking, completely logoed jacket with biker-type logos. And he had sublimated them into the material. So it wasn't screen printed. It was actually in the material. I said, "What are you going to do with that?" He goes, "I don't know. Take it home." I said, "What do you want for it?" He says, "How about $35? Yeah, I got $35 on me." He goes, "No. Give me your business card. Do a deal with me." "Fine. You got it." So he gives me the jacket. I go off to the event. We have a great time at the event. And the young guy was there, and I had met before, and he worked for a guy that I'd known for years. And he said, "Hey, it's a really cool jacket. What are you going to do with that?" I said, "Well, first of all, I will never wear this again." And he said, "Well, can I have it?" I said, "Sure." So the next day I woke up, grabbed the jacket, went down to breakfast, put it on a seat next to me. He shows up. He winds up sitting by himself a few tables over. I think he stayed out a little longer than the old guy did. So I walked up to him and I said, "Hey, Taylor, how are you? Great night last night. Wasn't the Harley-Davidson thing wonderful?" "Oh, it was great. Oh my, so great to meet you." Yeah. And so I said, "We saw a lot of stuff here, right? A lot of good vendors. Then we had those 4, those keynote speakers, and they were kind of cool, right? At least 2 of them were." And so he says, "Yeah." I said, "You know what though? You learned a lot of stuff, didn't you?" "Yeah." I said, "I'm going to teach you the best lesson you've heard all week." I took the jacket, threw it on the table, and said, "Always do what you say you're going to do." And I turned around in my best John Wayne and walked away. He'll never forget that.
Yep.
So yeah, those are the little tidbits, the little things that we talk about in both of in our program, Positive Activity, and also in my book, Bar Tips. Everything I needed to know in sales, I learned behind the bar. It's the tagline. So yeah.
So what I get out of your stories is that you evaluated your actions to see what worked. You created a model that you tested, and then you used the model in various situations to grow your businesses. That's what I got out of what you said.
Boom. Repeatable. What is do you golf at all, G?
Oh.
Okay. For you golfers out there, this is going to be a nice analogy for you. What is a golfer is looking for is a winning, repeatable swing. So that's what I've described to you was a winning, repeatable swing. Now, that doesn't mean you can't take a different path now and again, that the situation comes up where you might have to shuck or jive. So just do that. And maybe you'll find that circumstance again, and you'll know how the shucking and jiving should go.
You learn as you go. Testing to see what's going to work. And then if it doesn't work, that's okay. It's a lesson learned, right?
Shift. So what we say is when we counsel people on the positive activity process, we say, give it 90 days. That doesn't mean you can't tweak the process. Doesn't mean you can't take a divergent path now and again. Doesn't mean if you miss a day, you have to chastise yourself, give yourself some grace. Just get back at it. We don't want to have multiple days in a row. We're not following the program. But when you look up after 90 days, you won't believe where you came from when you do this process. I mean, it's like you get on a roll. So all those businesses I talked about, how they grow because you go out and you do the same thing every day. And then all of a sudden, whoa, I got a whole bunch of leads coming my way. I gotta stay ahead of them and take care of them and close them. That's what happens. You do this. Now there's some homework involved. You need to understand what your business is, who can buy what you sell, and you have to really define that. But I don't think it's going to take, it's a ballpark guess, because we don't know exactly, you're going to try some trial and error even in that. But what is the best? Like in our business, everybody can buy what we sell. Now it's what our avatar is. Our avatar is we want to see $500 million in sales and 1,000 employees. We know that if we get in that building and we find one person, we'll find 20 more. That's how we built the business. Now, all of a sudden, you're the person because you've followed and so Bar Tips is about, it stems from hospitality, right? So as long as you're doing the hospitable things and you're following up and you're giving good information and you're doing it quickly, and if they're calling you to do something, and you're what did I tell Taylor? Do what you're saying you're going to do. Give him the jacket, right? So, yeah. So those are the things that we've done over and over again that have been successful. We continue to do them though. I mean, Gene, in 10 days I'll be 66 years old. I have no notion of slowing down.
Cool.
We do, and I love to do this. I love to talk about this. I had a coffee today at Starbucks, and this woman said hello to me twice as I walked by, and I just and so I said, "Do I know you? I mean, you look kind of familiar." She goes, "No, I'm the district manager." I said, "Oh, you're someone I want to talk to." So we just started chatting, and we talked about bar. I ran out to my car, brought her back in a signed copy of Bar Tips. So that is a speaking opportunity right there. We should have you come and talk to our people. You know what? I was just thinking the same thing.
So connection, communication, consistency, and follow through. That's what I'm getting from you.
Yeah. Absolutely. All important. And none of which, by the way, is splitting the atom. We're not talking about, messaging and how to trick somebody into doing something. When it's like you figured out who can buy what you sell and you systematically market to them. And you're gonna have some wins, you're gonna have some losses, you might have some ties. So those that recognize that but still follow like the 7-touch model in our campaigns, you got a fighting chance. And then you decide after 7 touches, is this someone that we really want? Should we continue on and spend money on them? Because you're going to spend money on them. You're going to send them journal books. You're going to send them pens. You're going to send them dimensional mail so that they open it and they get to know you. I mean, just recently I got a out of the blue. I mean, I don't know how they find our website because we don't do any SEO or anything like that. Because there are players in our business that spend hundreds of thousands of dollars on SEO. Can't compete with that. So she must have stumbled over our website. So she asked me a question off of our website. And I answered the question, and then I followed up and I answered a little bit more. Then I got a little bit more information. And then today she opened up a package from me and she thanked me. Do you think she knows who I am? I think she does. What's the likelihood that she'll probably give us a try? Probably very high.
Yeah, that leads me to something that's sort of like a pet peeve of mine, but you get around it through your consistent way of keeping in touch. But on social media, as soon as someone like wants to be like LinkedIn, right? They want to connect on LinkedIn and immediately they want to sell you something. Well, it's like, why would I buy from you if I have no experience with you? If I don't know what your business practices are, if I don't know how you work, why would I trust you with my business, right?
What we say is, well, first of all, I look at that stuff and I say it's lazy marketing. It's just lazy.
And that's what they're taught, though, you know?
It's no creativity. There's no, so we say two things as it relates to business development. Many things, but two things that kind of sum it up. You can be persistent and you can be tenacious. Persistence sounds like pest for a reason. Tenacious has the persistency, but it has creativity. You've done something different. And that's up to you to choose what that different might be. We don't want to be offensive. We don't want to be, but we want to show that we really would like your business. And we're also willing to maybe spend a $30 package to see if you're interested, you know, and maybe we'll do it again in 3 weeks or whatever. But they'll also be pointed. There'll be some reasoning behind it. In our world, we just send the stuff. Say we thought this would be cool for you. But I mean, if you were in a separate business, if you were selling insurance, if you were selling widget, whatever it is, then there may be some more pointed copy and that type of thing, which is absolutely wonderful because best copywriter in the world right now is AI. So yeah, this those are the types of things that we do.
Go back to your bartending days. Tell me how you learned all this stuff, because your book is based on what you learned from bartending. How did that translate into what you're doing now?
So bartending just really came natural to me because I do like people. You know, I've certainly gotten way better at it over the years. I was a little too, I would suggest, cocky, uncoachable, had all the answers, those types of, I was that type of 19-year-old. One that I'd turn around and walk away from me if I was me today and met me then. So, but what I did, but I also was, I like to have fun, and I like to have fun with people, and I'm a good conversationalist, and I asked them about them, and even back then, without even reading Dale Carnegie, I let them talk about themselves. And then, so that all that just came natural to me. And then the other thing is that I had the physical attributes to do the job well. One of the things is that, if you work in busy places, which I did, because that's where you make the money, I had quick hands. So I moved really fast in a small space. So that was a huge benefit to me. But then the things that I learned were kind of just happened. You should show up on time because that's what you should do. Because if you don't, guess what? In this place in particular, I'm thinking about, there was four other bartenders on. One person needs, and they're looking to leave. One of them's looking to get off. If you show up late, you're holding them up. All right. You know, if your station was organized, you were much more likely to be able to serve the customer faster. You knew where everything was. This one particular place was so organized. They knew they were going to be busy, and they were. And to this day, here they are. You ready? I'm going to show you right here. Right at this level was the vodkas, and this was in order of preference, or in order of quality at the time. Smirnoff, Absolute, Stoli. And then there wasn't 4 zillion vodkas back then, right? Now that they've got zillions. So that's the organizational part. What do you need to be in sales? My chapter on organization, it's called The Most Organized Wins. If you show up and you're unorganized, how does that look? If you show up late, then you're unorganized, and you don't know enough about your product. You can't help them in any other ways. You didn't shave. You're not feeling great because you maybe went out too late the night before. All these things start to add up. And all those things were important as a bartender. But the most important, ultimately, it's the first impression. How did you say hello? And how did you take that relationship to the next level? By listening. Let them talk about themselves, like as old Dale told us, right? They want to talk about themselves. Let them go. Let them go. And then nod where appropriate. Never interrupt them. Don't talk over them. And please, don't ever one better them. Oh, you got a story? Oh, let me tell you this one. This is way back. And then, as a wise old mentor of mine, Bill, said years ago, said it a number of times, this was in the sporting goods business, never avoid an opportunity to keep your mouth shut.
That's hard for some people.
But if you're going to do this job, if you're going to do this work, you have to do it. Do we want to, you want to, whenever anybody says, what's the biggest mistake a new salesperson makes? And I say, throwing up all the information that they know about their product without listening to a darn thing, without asking any probing questions. Now, there may be a limited time. Maybe you're not going to get into a huge Socratic method here, but, ask a couple of questions about their business. What do you sell good? What do you sell at the $40 price point? How about the 50, 60? Oh, okay, interesting. We've got some, whatever. So you're asking some probing questions. But yeah, so it's this, there's a huge crossover with the skills. And, you could tag that to, I met a guy the other day, Monday, at a networking meeting with a guy. And he talked about, I gave him a copy of the book and talked through it. And he goes, oh my goodness, I needed this because he's just starting a new business. So, O'Neill, I needed this in the worst way today. I said, I got something out of it too. But he was a caddy. It's a service business. Do you know what the greens are like? Is it a dog leg left? Where do you want him to land? What's the distance to that turn? Same thing, right? Still have to be nice. Still you have to be conversational. But talk about a place knowing when to keep your mouth shut. That's a place. Right? So, okay. Yeah. So retail, any retail operation. This was my experience. And it just came to me that when I realized at an event here on campus, I live in a golf community now here in New Hampshire. And my daughter was honored from the chamber as one of the 30 to watch under 30, right?
Oh, cool.
Award for everything. I'm sure you've heard of these things.
Yeah.
40 under 40, whatever. And so we went to the event, and the guy who brought Five Guys Burgers to New Hampshire did the keynote. And he's a real nuts and bolts speaker. And that's me. If you're looking for acronyms, I'm going to say Ghana a couple of times. I promise you. I'm not going to do going to you. And it's not going you're going to hear the Boston accent. It's going to count. It's going to be other. And so anyways, so I love them. right? And he started talking. So I don't know if you ever work with hospitality, but one of the things that there's this thing called pre-meal, and to get the team together and you're talking about what is out, what are the specials, that type of thing. I'm not so sure that Five Guys Burgers ever has specials, but he would say, and just remember, we're not in the burger business. We're not in the fry business. We're not in the soda business. We're not in the shake. We're in the hospitality business. I went just like this. I looked to my wife, point of context. We met when I was a bartender and she was food server. And I looked and I said, I have never left the bar business. I've been tending bar on the road for 30 plus years. At the time to get that number was at that point. And so we did some research on how other businesses. So the third chapter of the book is research that I had done on other businesses and how they did fun things to engage their customers, be hospitable and whatnot. Starbucks does stuff. Little men's store in Atlanta we found. Certainly was a financial services company, different things that they did. So it was just, and so we just, it all stems from, how you would treat somebody if they came to your house. So it all works together.
Comic relief here. Back in your bartending days, did you throw the bottles? Did you do anything fancy, or were you just the fast pourer?
The only thing I did do, so there were no computers at this time. So the only thing I did is when the bottle was empty, I would spin it like that because they frowned upon that stuff because we were there to push out the booze. So the bottle would wind up, see if I can do it with this, so the bottle would be like this, and then it'd be something like this, and that would be it. Right, that was it. But
a little bit of flair anyway.
I could pour the drinks and add them up at the same time. So by the time I was done pouring them, I delivered them and said $20, $13.95, whatever it was. So that was a little bit, but yeah. So it was just about getting it quick, getting it done. Fridays, there was Fridays in Exeter Street in Boston. This was all in Boston, by the way. They were big into that stuff, but it was like, guys, you just pour the booze, just pop the beers, get them out. It's like enough already with the fancy doodle stuff.
Yeah, but the fancy doodle stuff is what would bring the people in to watch, for the entertainment factor.
Yeah, but you want them drinking.
Yeah.
You want them buying.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, now everything is shooken. And I was watching this one guy one night. He was shaking and shaking and shaking. So we still got a little text chain from some of the guys from back in the day that did it. Now for me, 38 years ago was the last time I poured a drink behind a bar. And I did have a cameo at one of the bars I worked at in my 60th year, 6 years ago. But this guy was shaking these martinis and, the fancy drinks and whatnot. I texted the guys. I said, all right, guys, this guy's been doing this for at least 5 minutes. I'd have poured 4 vodka and sodas, popped 3 beers and a couple of White Russians, and it got the money by now. So all depends on what you want. And there are places that refuse to do those drinks. No, we don't do those here. What's your drink, man? We haven't got one. Like a martini? It's vodka, it's gin. I went to like.
I was just on a podcaster cruise, and it was very interesting because the whole connection thing, the networking thing happens at the bars, right? And so some of the bars were, like you said, they just pour the drinks and get them out there. And other ones were the specialty places where they would have these things with the fancy menus, just like you were at a fine dining restaurant, except they were drink menus. And they'd have one page would just be a picture and then what that whole thing was. But they made a big deal out of how to create these things, right? So it was the entertainment factor. So it does depend on your audience. And that's important in business to keep in your head, who are you hoping to do business with? Do they expect all the fancy stuff? Do they expect the show? Or do they just want the nuts and bolts and give me what I need and get out of here? Right? It's a different marketing strategy.
Yeah. I think you hit the nail on the head of this, and you can garner prettier price with the fancy marketing book and all that stuff. And boy, that looks delicious. And people love them. Don't get me wrong. I'm not big into them at all. That's just me, my own. I mean, and it's kind of like what I said years ago when I'm selling anything that I've sold. If I sold only that which I would use, let me show you where I live. Right. So you guys want a chocolate martini and espresso martini for $18? You got it.
And that's what they were too. They were like $18. Some of them were a little more. Some were maybe $1 less. But that's what they were. It was the fancier drinks at the fancier price. You didn't get any more alcohol, Nope. But the non-alcoholic was the same price as the alcoholic because it's the presentation and the labor and the creativity that went into it, right? That you were paying for. You weren't paying for this much alcohol. You were paying for the show.
Yep. Absolutely. Absolutely. So it's it's a different game today. I'm not so sure I'd be, although I do want to go, I just want to go, I want to be I did get tip certified, which is what you have to do in Massachusetts. And because I'm in New Hampshire, Massachusetts is right there. Right. So I got tip certified and I wanted to go work. I was going to apply to hotels in Boston. It's like, just get on their roster as someone to pinch hit now and again. I don't want to do it. I don't need to do it, but there's something about that one-on-one interpersonal gig that I miss today because we don't have enough of it. We don't see clients in person as much as we used to. We want to, but sometimes they're working from home, or it's like, it's a little bit more of a challenge. But
Since you brought it up, I'm going to ask this: how did the pandemic affect your business? The way you were?
We were down a little bit. But we substituted with, sadly, I really, it was blood money as far as I was concerned, but we sold masks, logoed masks, and thousands upon thousands of them. And the hand sanitizer, oh my, it makes me sick to my stomach just to think about it, honestly. But, and we were in a much better position at this stage of our lives. All our kids are grown and gone and so it's, for some, I would not want to have had kids in school, although we have a special needs son, but he was able to go to his program every day. He's 30, by the time he was 30, now he's 33. So he was going to his program every day because his one-on-one person needed the insurance. So they went into the place by themselves. So, but yeah, so it's, but yes, we got through it pretty easy enough. We had some major clients that we worked with, and everybody was just trying to stay afloat. So
you just shifted your product targets, right?
Yeah. We still did the other stuff, but the volume came from, we made up the volume on what they called the PPP stuff. I can't remember what the acronym stands for now. It's something protective product.
Yeah.
I've kind of tried to put that out of my mind. I don't even say the word. Whenever I talk about it, I say, when that happened, and I'm not going to say the word, everybody knows what I'm talking about. So, but yeah. So we got through it well. We got through it well.
Did your marketing change at all through that or no?
Well, sure. We would send samples of those items. Again, using our simple process. We've got these items. You all could use them, and so we sent it to new prospects too, and we did some new business doing that type of thing. But yeah, it was just an interesting time.
That's one word for it.
I wrote the book in that period of time. I reached out to a lot of people. We stayed in touch with our clients more than ever, just to see how they were doing. They've become your friends. We've been working on some of these customers. We've been working together for 27 years. How are you doing?
The connection part, I think, is what suffered during that period of time. So you reaching out to them maintained the connection points. That whole connection consistency that you were talking about earlier.
Right.
I was lucky that my business is all remote. So,
There you go.
it's just, I used to do a lot more on Skype, right? And then Zoom, their R&D, their technology boom brought them in the forefront over Skype. So their marketing.
Skype is kind of the MySpace of this space, isn't
I
it?
still like Skype. I still use it, but it's very rare that I use it.
Yeah.
And I'm on Zoom all the time, just like this. I'm on Zoom all the time. Just because.
I found most of these podcasts are used. I would say 80% of them are using Zoom. Some are using this Riverside.
Yeah.
I looked into that. All these things have little nuances to them. Some are more challenging to work with than others. For on this side, we use Zoom. But it's interesting. We have to pay for Zoom. We get Google Meet and Teams for nothing. So I don't know why we're paying for them.
Yeah, I pay for it because I like the applications, that I can get with paying. And also because I use it for my podcast. So that makes sense. But the fact that Zoom was more reactive to what was going on and had their eye on what will further our business in the long run. And so they grew the technology and Skype did not. I think that's a very something to be aware of in any business. Where are your clients headed? What are they looking for? Are you supplying that, or are you supplying something they wanted yesterday?
Right. Yeah. Yeah, no question. I think it's a great tale to tell. But yeah, we all had to pivot. We had to do something, and we did. If you stayed positive and creative, which is what our credo is, you figured it out. So yeah, and all of that, my business, I am the original guy that's worked out. My wife and I are the business now, but I've always worked out of the house. I am, when people are saying, "Oh, I'm working from home now." Oh, great! I've been doing it for 40 years, and my deductibles went up dramatically to $3,000. I went, really? Might have been at 12 forever. Independent insurance.
Yeah.
So.
Positive activity. What is that?
So positive activity is that, and I think I touched upon it a little bit, but I'll give the ditty. It's the practice, because we talk about it being a practice, because nothing's perfect, of getting your mindset right to a place of positivity, which then can lead you to open-minded, divergent thinking, solution providing, creativity. So we pretty much, even with our, in our personal life and our professional life, very rarely feel boxed in. We know if we keep trying to figure it out, we'll find the solution out of it, So, and then because of that leads to productivity. So once you've got what you want to do, what you want to accomplish. Now in business development, we talk about steps for business development. Like I mentioned earlier, we've got bits and pieces of it, but what is the business you're in? Who can buy what you sell? Who are those people? Do you have a benefit statement that you can send? Do you have everything that you can do for them on one piece of paper? So if you sit down with somebody for a coffee meeting, you've got that one sheeter you can walk them through and leave it behind. Again, that's showing respect for their time, and you're being the most organized. And what did we say earlier? That wins, right? And so, so we put that all together, and then you have the group the group you meet, and the group you buy. So the group your friends, your family, your business associates, should they know what you're doing? I say yes. Everybody's a referral source. So how are you going to market to them? When you meet somebody at a chamber event, at a social event, on a podcast, at a counter at a breakfast shop, what is your structured way of giving them 7-touch follow-up? Right? Can they, and you have qualified them that they can buy what you sell. So you take it, unless they're going to be a referral source, that's a different path. But if they can buy what you sell, well, they should get your path, the path that acknowledges that. And then there's the group you buy, which is, that's a spray and pray model, which I'm not really too much interested in much of that. Especially at this stage of my career. We know the thing about age is you know people, and you know people who know people, and you've got a reputation. If you did everything with integrity, you're not going to have a problem getting referred. But still, because you were referred or because you met somebody, don't think they're sitting by their phone waiting for your call. You have to show them the courtesy, show them the professionalism that you've put them into your marketing. Back to your person that linked into you. You were talking about getting LinkedIn. Really? You're linking into me, and the next thing out of your mouth is, here's what I can sell you? We don't have any relationship, zero, other than your lazy marketing. I don't think I'm interested. Now, what I will do with people is if they show some tenacity, we talked about that earlier, I'll give them a break. I said, listen, what is it you want to do? Because we're not a big deal in our little company. So I'm telling you that right up front. One guy says, well, then let's network. I said, I'm all about that. Let's do that. And we did. And I got some nice little leads from him on things to do. Wasn't necessarily customers, but it was actually, he was actually a cold call company. And I say, listen, we're a small organization. If we get 10 new clients this year, we're good. Right? If you're going to try to give me 50 leads to follow up a month that are hot, we're not your people. Now we can call that down to the top 5. That might be enough. And we get those 5 every month. Now we might be talking. But he gave me a tip on an AI program for lead generation for the speaking part. So we use that. So, but I always I can get something out of every conversation pretty much. So, but now, so it's now, so once so now you've got that, you've got your structured way of getting in touch with people. Now you get the all important coffee meeting, the 15-minute meeting. How are you structured for that? Do you know how to conduct that? And so there's some tactics in that. There's a Sandler tactic it's called the upfront contract. So Gene, how much time do we have together today? 15.
And we're about there.
So Gene, what I would like to do is I'd like to tell you a little bit about us. I want to hear a lot about you. And then I think after that, I think we might be able to determine whether or not another meeting is warranted, maybe some samples. We can make a call at them. Does that sound fair?
Cool.
Who says no to that after they've taken the meeting? And then you've got your one pager, so you take them through. You got a couple of samples you can leave behind, whatever your business is. And our business is very sample centric. And so, and then that completes the positive activity pack loop, because you've got your mindset, right? All the mindset process we use. We learned a lot of things out of Martin Seligman and Sean Acor, and we incorporate a gratitude practice. We use meditation. We use an intentional recall. We make sure we're moving our body, making sure all that stuff is at least a random act of kindness, a reach out. That's all done before we open up the inbox. So we're in creative mode. Now, if we do that and we do that lead process for the next 90 days, that's where you're going to see the activity that begets activity, the role you get on as a business person, and that's a really good feeling, because although it may be overwhelming, but the overwhelming thing is going to be that you got too much business. Better get on your horse. Might be working Saturdays for a little bit, as they say, it's a problem, but it's a good problem. It's still a problem. So just figure it out.
And it's also a lesson to be learned.
Yeah.
So, how much do you want?
There you go.
Yeah. But I wasn't kidding. We are near the end of our time together.
So, it goes quick.
Yeah. Before we go, though, I want to make sure everybody can get in touch with you. You've got some resources for people out there. Tell people where they can find you.
So the best place to find us is positiveactivity.net. Everything is on there for you to check in with us. Also, my email is neil@positiveactivity.net, and that's Neil with an EI. And but through Positive Activity, you can search us out, and all of our socials are there and all that. So it's follow us all. We got the Instagram thing going. We got the Facebook. We've got all of them. I get my son. My son manages all that stuff for me. He's the social guru. I still don't quite get it. I'm having some fun with it though. I'm not gonna lie. Like these impromptu commercials that go with the blog posts that I have, and you'll see when it's called. I do the never give up an opportunity to keep your mouth shut. That type of stuff. So that's all in there. The throwing of the jacket. Always do what you say you're gonna do. It's in there.
Cool.
Yeah, it's fun.
Yeah, he does a good job. I think you're on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, and Twitter. So I think he's got you everywhere.
Yeah.
So you might want to consider giving him a bonus.
Oh, he gets bonused out. I promise you that.
Okay. If you didn't catch all that, you can just click on the links in the show notes below. That'll take you right to him also. I want to thank you for being here. It's been a really fun conversation. But before we close out, do you happen to have any final thoughts for our listeners?
Stay humble and kind.
Nice.
To wrap it up with that, it's always a good one.
Cool. Well, thanks for being here. I really appreciate your time.
Glad to be here. Thanks for having me, Gene.
Yeah. And to the listeners, thank you for your time, for tuning in once again. Every Tuesday, we drop a new episode. If you have anybody that you'd like to see on these shows, let me know. We'll see what we can do about getting them on. But until next time, this is your host, Jean Border, with the Focused Practical Dreamer's Journey.
We trust you enjoyed this episode of the Focused Practical Dreamer's Journey podcast. Energy work to better your business. Hosted by energy healer Jean Border. Remember to visit our website at www.focusedpracticaldreamer.com and enjoy even more great episodes like this one. Again, while you're here, subscribe to us via your favorite network. We look forward to seeing you next time on the Focused Practical Dreamer's Journey.